Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 2 English lesson on commas. So, it's going to be a continuation of what we did in our previous lesson. So, we'll be doing our grade 2 English lesson on commas. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English Language Arts. Grade 2. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of commas. All right. Remember in our previous lesson, we did commas, and we did commas with series, and we did commas with dates, right? So today, we were doing commas with names of people, names of places, sorry. And then we're also going to do commas, just an overview again, like a review on commas, right? So we see that chapter is commas. Our subject is English Language Arts. Grade 2. And then the lessons that we're going to be focusing on today, like we said, is commas with names of places. And then we're going to have a review, basically an overview again of the different commas that we did, which is also series, right? All right. So we use a comma between a city and a state, or between a city and a country, right? So if we want to, for example, show that we, for example, stay in a specific city and this city is in a specific country or a state, and then we need to put a comma between the city and the country, or between the city as well as the state. And an example is, let me just separate this. And an example is Miami. So I live in the city of Miami and the state of Florida, right? The same with Paris. Paris, France. Like, for example, I live in a city called Cape Town. I live in the city of Cape Town, comma, and the country that I live in is called South Africa, right? Can you write down the city that you live in, as well as either the state or the country in which you live in? So you're going to write your city, the name of your city, comma, and either the state or the country that you live in. You can type it for me, please. So you're going to type in the name of the city in which you live in, as well as the country or the state. And I made an example of myself where I said that I live in the city called Cape Town. So I'm going to put your city. So I live in the city called Cape Town. And South Africa is the country, right? So we say that we use a comma between a city and a state, or we need to put a comma, we use a comma between a city and a country. So please write down the name of your city, the city in which you live in, as well as either the state or country that you live in. You can write it down. All right. Okay. Right. So when we write comma, when we use specific commas, right? Remember, when it comes to commas, commas can be used in many, many different forms, right? Commas can even be used when we are writing sentences, and it can be used for a pause. We can use commas for a series where we are listing down the items or certain words that we need to do, or things that is in order, right? And in this case, we're also using the comma right between a city and a state, or a city and a country. Remember, first the city and then either the state or the country. So what is the name of your city first? And then we put the country or the state. In Canada, do they call it states or do they call it countries? All right. Lovely, especially beautiful. Put the commas. B-Funk, you need to put the comma in, right? Because we're doing commas with names of places. All right. So like I said, there are many different functions and ways in which we can use commas, right? And in this case, we are writing commas with names of places where we need to separate the comma between the city and the state, or the city and a country. All right. So we can then say, even when it comes to, like we mentioned earlier in our previous lesson, even series, right? When we list series of words or the series of things, right? And then we, for example, write the first word, and then all the other items that we add after that, it needs to be comma, item, and then comma, and then the last one. Food. What about food? All right. Has any one of you left the country yet? Or you've just been in Canada for the amount of years that you, ever since you were born? Nanny, you need to write down the name of the city and then the name of your country. So the city, comma, your country, or city, comma, and the state. Because that is to show that we are able to write commas with names of places. All right. So we are also going to do our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So let's go to aplusstudents.ca. So long. So we said that with in our previous lesson, we did commas with series, commas with dates, and today we're doing commas with names of places, all right? And as soon as we are done with names of places, and then we will go over commas with series and dates again. So we said with commas with names of places, right? We use a comma between a city and a state, or between a city and a country. It says, my best friend is moving to San Diego, California. If we look at that sentence, right? What do you think needs to be corrected? Yeah, the sentence. My friend is moving to San Diego, California. So in this sentence, we don't need to add the comma over there, but this one is correct because it shows us the name of a place that the friend is moving to, which is San Diego in California. All right. And once again, if we look at an example, right, then we can say a city is Miami, right? Remember, the city is in the city in which you live in, right? It's a city of either that specific state or province, right? And then that is all under, let's say, or under or in a specific country. Paris, it's our city. Then we have France. So you need to then use a comma between a city and a state, or between a city and a country. All right. So we see that my best friend is moving to San Diego, and San Diego, California, is the name of a city as well as a state in which we have identified, right? All right, well done. Yes, Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar. Are you saying are famous? I can't see. Then famous. All right, here's the word famous. So Famous. All right. It says you can see beautiful tulip fields in Leiden, Netherlands. So you can see beautiful tulip fields in Leiden, Netherlands. What is the city that we can identify within that sentence as well, either the state or the country? Let's identify the name of the city as well as either the state or the country in the sentence. All right, so we can say you can see beautiful tulip fields in Leiden, Netherlands. What is the city within that sentence that we have identified, as well as either the country or the state? All right, so if we were to identify it ourselves, we can say it is Leiden, which is our city, and the Netherlands, which is either our state or country, right? We need to find some of the world's beautiful clothes, like find some of the world's beautiful clothes in Milan, Italy. Beautiful, Winnie. Yes. Well done. That is a country. Now, if we look at the next one, it says find some of the world's most beautiful clothes in Miami, Italy. All right. So if we were to identify a city within that sentence, then we can say, find some of the world's most beautiful clothes in Milan, which is a city, and in Italy, which is either a country. All right, so we said that Milan is our city, Italy is either our country or state. All right, so here we said find some of the world's most beautiful clothes in Milan, Italy. And usually, Milan, Italy, Paris, those are places that people love to go to check the romance of that place and the beauty of that place. All right, let's go to a test. It says correct the sentence by adding any missing commas. If the sentence is already correct, then don't add any commas. All right. So here's another one that says, okay, it says one of the world's most beautiful buildings is in is it Cordoba, Spain? All right, so we're going to add either commas, or if the comma is already there, then we can just leave it, but we're still going to choose the correct answer, right? To say which one is correct. All right, so we said that we will choose option one. And the reason why we're choosing option one is because if you look at option two has a comma over there, right? And we should not add any comma. So we'll go with option one. All right, so we said we're choosing option one. Well done. All right, we are by the next one. It says, my best friend is moving to San Diego, California. Or option B, which says, my best friend, comma, is moving to San Diego, comma, California. So we say that my best friend is moving to San Diego, California. That's the first option. So which means that only there in between the city and the country or state we have a comma. And the second one says my best friend, comma, is moving to San Diego, California. So nope, not second one. We will go with the first option. All right, so we can say there are many beautiful homes. Let's go with the second one. Right, so we're going to the second one because there is a comma in front of the city, which is not supposed to have been there. So our option or our answer was option 2. All right, it says the Wright brothers were from Dayton, Ohio. Or do we go to the second option that says the Wright brothers, comma, were Dayton, Ohio? All right. So we're not going to choose the correct one to say if the sentence is, and if the sentence is already correct, we're going to leave it. And if it's not correct, then we will choose something else. It says the Wright brothers were from Dayton, Ohio, right? So we will go with the first option. So well done. Yes, well done. The first one is correct. Luke wants to go to the zoo in Denver, Colorado, which is the first option, or the second option says Luke, comma, wants to go to the zoo in December. So we need to find the correct words. Is it option 1, which says Luke wants to go to the zoo in Denver, Colorado? Or is it option 2, which is Luke, comma, wants to go to the zoo in December or in Denver, Colorado? All right, and if we were to choose the correct one, and then we will choose option 1. Now we need to correct the sentence by adding any missing commas. If the sentence is already correct, then do not add any commas. It says there are many old gardens in Kyoto, Japan. All right, then if we were to choose it says there are many old gardens in, I'm not sure if we should say Kyoto, right? But it is option 1. All right, and that is the one that is correct. The other one is not correct. So we can say they walked around Kew Gardens in London, England. And we will go with the first option. All right. So that is correct. All right. So now we're going to the commas review, right? And before we review our commas, we see that commas commas are not just only there for separating names of places, series, or dates, right? All right. When we review commas, right? When we review commas, and then it means that we are now going to, we see that we have commas, we did commas with series, commas with dates, and now today we did commas with days as well as like cities and countries, right? So we use commas to separate three or more items in a series, because remember we said that, but the last one that says review, we're going to go over everyone or everything where a comma needs to be placed. So we use a comma to separate three or more items in a series. All right, so remember with a series, right? As even it is stated here, we use commas to separate three or more items in a series. And if we want to show how we will, for example, write, you know, something down, or it's like if you have three items, it says you had to buy oranges, you had to buy pears, and you had to buy notches, right? So if we were to add a comma, right, we will say our first word, comma, the second word, comma, and, for example, something else, right? Because that will then show that there's a series. We call those an items in a series, right? And that separates three or more items within the series. So we can, for example, add our series, which is like orange peas and notches, for example. All right. So we made an example of commas that is being used to separate three or more items within a series. Here we only have three, items, but you'll do the same if there are more, right? Where something is so we said with the series, it is three or more. All right. So when it also comes to commas, right? Then we can also list a comma by the dates that we are going to be writing. Like, for example, today is 17 May 2024, right? So we're going to write that specific date as per how it's supposed to be, right? So we said that in dates, we use a comma between the day as well as the year. So we first write the day, first the month, then the day, and then the year. All right, and here we made an example of how we can use between the day and a year, right? How we use commas. All right, so we mentioned how we can use commas within a series. Now we're going to use commas between a city and a state, or between a city and a country. All right, before we go on to that one, we use a comma in dates. Like we said, today is the 17th of May 2024. Yeah. All right, before we finish, let us just quickly do only two questions. We need to add or remove commas to the correct sentences. It says the painter Pablo Picasso was born on October 25, 1881, or the painter Pablo Picasso was born on 28 I'm sorry, on October 25, 1881. Which one is correct? And if we choose the correct one, we choose the first option, which is the month, the day, and the year. And yes, well done. Today is May 17th, 2024. Dana's aunt lives in London, England. Or do we say Dana's aunt, comma, lives in London, comma? All right, so we say Dana's aunt lives in London, England. right? And that is correct, right? So far, like I said, we did commas. Commas can be used for many different functions. It is even in sentences, right? Over here, we are doing commas with series, right? Where we are adding, if you have three or more of those words, then we add first a comma, then the word to show that it's ongoing. We also had commas with dates. So we can then say L has a bed, comma, desk, comma, and chair in her room. Or do we say L has a bed, desk, and a chair in her room? All right, so if we were to remove or to add or to keep it the same, then this is actually us, this is showing a series, right? Because it says Ellen has a bed, comma, desk, comma, and chair in her room. All right, so the option one is incorrect. All right, so that is now the end of our lesson on commas. Commas, like we said, has many different functions. In this case, we use commas to separate those series, right? The series of words. All right. So we wrote commas with series where we had three or more like words or items that we had to list. Then we wrote commas with dates, right? And now commas with names of places. All right, but that is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, grade twos, for joining the class. I really hope that you have some understanding of what commas are. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.